We also have experiments that, a series of experiments that are being done currently and are arousing some interest at places like Harvard and Yale by Darrell Bim, who is a professor at Cornell, and Dick Bierman out of Holland. These are experiments in short-term precognition using a model that is used in standard psychological research. And after I give someone else a chance to speak, I can describe that in some detail if you wish. That's turning out to be a fairly reliable model also.
All right, we've seen a lot of hands. I'm going to try to get to you, hopefully, the order which I saw them. So, all right, what is your question?
Actually, I'm wondering, as far as the hauntings go, I know you can hear that last night. I've seen things, I've gone out on ghost hunting tours in St. Augustine, Florida, etc. And one of the things I've noticed is people who are willing to believe. I go out saying, hey, I wonder what I can capture if I take pictures here. I have a friend who went out and said, hey, I want to get pictures of ghosts. She and I could stand in the same place, take the same picture with our digital cameras throughout, and she'll show me her picture on her mind. I might have things that maybe orbs, may not be orbs, maybe stuff with dust, most likely. She has a recognizable figure. How much is it the belief can affect the digital medium?
We don't know the answer to that.
It's an interesting question.
We don't know the answer to that. There's to an extent, there's always this question, in any experiment that's done in parapsychology, there's always this question of how much of it is being done by the subject, how much of it is being done by the experimenter. You don't know. When you take a digital picture that shows an unusual image, you could have taken a picture of something that is objectively out there, or you could have taken a picture of something that you created there, in effect, by an effect on the CCD cell itself in the camera. One example of that is a particular haunted house that I investigated some years ago, where I was hearing all night long in the house. I sat in the house all night myself. And all night long I'm hearing clanking chains and heavy footsteps and, wails and moans and distant shrieks.
We weren't supposed to talk about last night. So I heard those noises all night last night in my hotel walls.
This is a house where nobody was supposed to be. The point is that in the course of this observation, and this is an observation, not an experiment, there's a big difference. In the course of that observation, I was also keeping a tape log, where I'm making comments on the tape, and noting the time on the tape as I'm going along. When I listened to it the next morning, my time marks, my comments are all there on the tape, but none of the sounds that I apparently heard are. Now, I can take somebody else in that house with me, and they would apparently hear sounds too. Although significantly, if we're in different rooms and not communicating with each other at the time, not necessarily the same sounds.
Michael, do you think people absolutely affect the observation?
Yes, of course. If I could recommend somebody else's book, Richard Wiseman has a new book out called Quirkology. Richard's a British experimental psychologist who specializes in, quirky things. And like the Luck Lab and his Laugh Lab, in which he figured out the world's funniest joke. Anyway, but he did a series of research on haunted houses. Well, basically he set up an abandoned theater, and then had subjects walk through it. And one group of subjects was told that it was being refurbished for use, and what did they think of it? Another group was told it's a haunted house, haunted building. And as you might expect, those that were told it was a haunted house heard all kinds of spooky things, reported feeling sort of queasy and a little odd and a little anxious, and heard strange things, whereas the other group didn't. And in another experiment, so that's the effect of the power of belief, of course. And then in another experiment, he actually infiltrated, or sort of pumped into a theater, a concert hall, infrasound, really low, deep sound that you can't hear with your normal ear, but your body picks up the vibrations. And this was during a piano concert, and he had multiple groups, and one group that received the infrasound treatment reported the music as being much more haunting and sort of eerie, and they felt anxious, and the other group that didn't get it didn't report that. And so these are ways that we can look either for psychological explanations and how we perceive things the way we want to or expect to, and then one possible amongst many natural explanations for how a house can seem haunted if maybe there is something like this infrasound.
Interesting. All right, what is your question?
My question is, you say that you're skeptical. Does that mean that you're also atheist? Do you apply the same skepticism to religion that you would to other aspects of life and nature?
Oh, we knew that question was coming eventually. Allison, how do you answer the atheist question?
I am not an atheist, but I don't normally discuss my religious preferences within my website or any of my work, because I am absolutely aware that I am not applying the same level of skepticism to that as I do to everything else, and it's incredibly hypocritical of me to do that. But I also think that there's such a thing as personal belief. I believe this because I personally have the evidence for it. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and try and convince anyone else that I'm right about it or I have any kind of proof of anything. It just means that for me, that's good enough.
Michael?
Right, well, we deal with this, well, we have Watkins on the cover, so we deal with this. Our perspective, we're a science magazine, where claims are made regarding religion, God's existence, the power of prayer to heal through divine intervention, that sort of thing, where claims are made that there's some measurable effect. Now you're in the realm of science, so let's look at your data. What are the measurable effects? The biggest study of all, funded by the Templeton Foundation last year, in a massive study of prayer and healing, showed that there was no effect. There was no benefit.
That's not quite true.
There was no benefit to being prayed for. Well, you're right. There was a slight effect. Those who were prayed for did slightly worse.
That's correct.
Mainly when they found out they were being prayed for by professional prayers, they thought, oh, I must really do something.
So basically you're saying
That's correct, and the ones who were prayed for did slightly worse, statistically, significantly slightly worse.
So the next time somebody says, I'm praying for you, give them a dirty look. They're not helping. All right. You were like really eager.
Earlier you were talking about hearing voices and noises, and the tape recorder didn't pick it up.
That's great.
I forget what it's called, but when it goes the other way around, the tape recorder picks up.
Electronic voice phenomenon.
Right. What are y'all's opinions on that?
I've never seen anything in EVP that's convinced me that anything's there at all. In my own field, I'm known as, well, the kind word that is usually used is hard ass, because I have to have solid material to work with. EVP, I've looked at a lot of it. One of the major EVP researchers, I can't recall his name right now, the whole setup is almost a model for accidental fraud. And I don't feel it can be relied on at all. I wanted to get back just for a moment, though, to that the phenomenon where I was not hearing anything. What I'm seeing, and I've got other instances and whatnot and studies that I can cite on that, and I do want to get back to that in a whole different way in a minute. You're perceiving, as I see it, you're perceiving something that isn't normal, and so your body doesn't know how to interpret that. You interpret it, so it gets interpreted as I'm hearing this. You're aware of something. You don't know what you're aware of. You don't have a frame of reference, so your brain interprets it as you're hearing something. Now, why would I hear footsteps and shrieks and clanking chains? Because I've seen 1,000 horror movies, and what that's what you're supposed to hear. A similar example is that people see strong magnetic fields as color, where there is no color, there's nothing photographic, nothing you can photograph. There is no wavelength, there's no light being emitted from these fields. But if you expose the people to these fields, they perceive a color, and they'll tell you the color is now on, it's now off. That's why you're useful. But you don't have any frame of reference to deal with those strong magnetic fields, right? And so you perceive that your brain interprets it as something you're seeing.